We are recording. Look at us. We're both wearing black shirts, and
Awesome. We're
I
twinsies.
didn't know you wanted to copy me today.
I love copying you all the time. How's our audio on this one? Have we checked audio for this?
Great. The computer is always awesome.
Great.
Yeah. Jon and Tara podcast. Ba-chow. Bing, bing, bang. Bing, bing, bang, boom.
Wah.
Wah. Psh, psh.
Yeah, something like that.
Well, you're wearing your martial arts shirt.
I am.
Yeah.
It's
your custom one. You ripped the collar out of it and tore the sleeves off.
I was being artsy. I was being like, I want it to be.
You're like, I gotta do this. I gotta look.
Kind of a throwback look, right?
Yeah.
Totally.
All right.
I have a topic. I know you're really surprised.
Boom. All right. Let's go.
You want to dive right into a topic?
Yeah, let's do it.
So I was getting my hair done the other day, and of course, a stylist is going to hear like all what's going on, right, with people. She's like, well, yeah, either people open up or they don't.
Yeah.
And so I was like,
I'm writing notes. Tara at the salon.
I asked her what are people's most common complaints about their spouses, and it wasn't a real big surprise. And it comes down to communication.
Yeah.
And so generally women are like, he doesn't listen, and men are like, she's nagging me.
She talks too much. I mean, nags, yeah.
Yeah, that's the favorite word.
Okay.
So I thought we would cover a couple of those things from, because since that's not a problem for us, we can cover it without the emotion.
I always listen and you never nag. So
right.
That's, yes,
right.
You're correct.
It's not an issue. So we can cover it without emotion and just other kinds of animation.
Animation.
Yes.
All
okay.
Right.
So what would you say to a woman who's like, he just doesn't listen? Like I tell him or ask him to do something and like he literally doesn't hear me.
Well, in our 10 marital arts.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the list. The first one is patience.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The second one is communication. And then the third one is cooperation. So I would say if a lady thinks that her husband isn't listening, she first of all needs to be patient. And then second of all, she needs to learn how to communicate with her husband.
Okay. So let's break this down. Okay.
It's the breakdown.
Ready? Yes. Because, okay, how long and how many, or what is being patient in a scenario like that? Because what I'm interpreting what happens is, you're actually a very good listener, but what I've heard.
I'm listening. I was about to talk, but.
What I have experienced in other ways, and it happens fairly rarely with you, actually, is that you're doing something, or even sometimes you'll be face to face, but I can see your mind is elsewhere.
Well, that's very observant. That's patiently observing your environment and understanding that the person you're talking to may be preoccupied with thoughts. If they're preoccupied with a task, especially a guy, you have to wait till he stops and turns, looks at you and says for the third time, "What did you say?" Or if he says yup,
he did not hear it. Or
So
did you get that?
One thing I will say, because primarily this is marriage, right? Primarily, if you have to complain about your boyfriend to the hairstylist, you've got problems already, and you may not want to get married. But if you are married, you need to remember your vows. Okay, your vows aren't, I get to complain about you whenever I'm upset to other people in the town, so that everyone knows that I'm an idiot because I'm with somebody who doesn't listen to me or care about me. Mm-hmm. Because you look really foolish when you're complaining about your spouse to somebody. And that needs to be, we have a culture of complain, blame, right? Or blame, complain. They can go first or second. People can complain and then blame, or blame and then complain. And what I think needs to be thought about is It's for rich or for poor, and sickness and in health, that type of stuff. It's not, if you don't listen to me, I'm going to complain to the town. And if you don't, you gotta know that you have said those vows and committed to a lifetime. That's a massive thing. And so therefore you have a lifetime to figure out your spouse. I hope it doesn't take that long, but patience, communication. You can ask your husband primarily, or if you want to say your spouse or your partner, that's fine. But you can ask them, is there going to be a time in the next 20 minutes when I can talk to you? And if they say yes, then say, could you please come in when that time arrives, or when you're free in the next 20 minutes, could you step into the house? Because generally a guy's going to be outside doing something. If he's playing video games, unless he's a professional making money with it, you might want to question the situation, right? But
Jon, what's wrong with video games?
Nothing. I've liked video games in the past. I used to. So what I would do is I like Splinter Cell. I think it's Tom Clancy that does the Splinter Cell series, but I like Splinter Cell. So I would buy a PS station, a PlayStation, and I would buy the game. Usually I would just get the kit, so it had Splinter Cell with it. And after I beat the game, I would give it away. So that way I wasn't, stuck on the video game. It'd take me a week or two, and to fully beat it on the highest level. And then I would just give it away and move on. And then in a year or two, when the next one came out, I'd buy another PlayStation. And then there was a time frame, where we had a PlayStation or a Xbox for a little bit longer because me and my son would play, and it was fun. It was a lot of fun. And then there was a time when I bought an Xbox to play online with my nephews, and that was fun. But at some point, you gotta put the games down and take on real life, which I've always done, obviously. But yeah, if you're interrupting a guy when he's doing something, that's not a good time. The best time would be if he's coming in for a meal, or if you're going out to eat, or if somebody's bringing home food or whatever. You say, after we're done eating, I'd like to chat with you about something for 5 minutes. Keep it short. It can go longer. Just say the number is, don't make it an hour, because then he'll never believe 5 minutes again. But if it's 10 minutes, that's within the overtime, and that's good. And you got to get to the point. One thing I'll tell ladies is you really have to get to the point. Start with, this topic is about this, right? So if you wanted to talk to me about, let's see, I'm trying to imagine something that has never happened because you have never had anything to complain about. So let's say you thought, I drove your vehicle. I had it all day, or I had it for a couple of days, and primarily your vehicle. And I left my empty shaker bottle in the back. It had half a shake in it. So now it's starting to get smelly in the container. And if it's sitting in the sun and it pops open, it's going to be messy.
Oh, I can imagine this scenario.
And I had, no, this is me. This is a fake scenario.
Yeah.
And I had wrappers on the floor, and I had crumbs on the console because I was eating while I was driving, because are you stressing? Because I eat when I drive, right? So I don't stop and take an hour for lunch or whatever, because I'm going from business to business to business and then home. So I'll eat on the way, or I'll eat on the way back, and I use my time efficiently. So there's a reason why the car is messy after I get out, hypothetically.
Yeah,
in this fake scenario. There's a reason the car is messy, because I'm efficient, right? And because
Jon,
I'm
you're
so
being efficient again.
because I'm so efficient, I don't take time to clean, right? I'm just off to the next task, off to the next job. So yeah, if I came in to eat and you said, after we're done eating, could I talk to you? And then make sure there's lively conversation during the meal, so I feel good about it, right? Don't be like, You're just eating ready for that 5 minutes after our meal because you're gonna get me, yeah, looking at your watch and all that kind of stuff, just keep it light, keep it fun, tell me how great I am, talk about something I did that was awesome, makes me feel really smart. And then when you have a request, I'm gonna be like, yeah, that's reasonable, because she just built up my ego and made me feel good. And
well, you're usually really good at like filling up the tank. Like you don't bring it back empty.
There's something coming. She's building my ego.
Well, and that's a perfect time in case this is an issue for someone else. That's the perfect time while the gas tank is being filled to just clean out stuff.
Yep, I do. I make sure that everything is topped off, the tires, the oil, the fluid.
And you'll wash the vehicle.
The gas, I'll wash it. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
My thing is, and this should be most guys, and it should be most people, but most guys, when I come home, my vehicle is ready for the next trip, right? Mm-hmm. So it might have a few crumbs and a few wrappers, but the tires are all balanced as far as air pressure. The fluids are topped off. The gas tank is full, because I'm the kind of guy, like if I had to go somewhere in a hurry, I don't want to jump in the car and there's a quarter tank of gas. And if it's an emergency, now I have to stop it's at least a 10-minute stop at a gas station, no matter what.
Yeah.
So if somebody has an accident around the ranch here and we got to go to the hospital fast, I don't want to get in and there's a 1/10 of a tank and we're not going to get there, so that's just the way I think.
Well, I think those are great tips. I'm making notes. What if, for example,
so we're talking communication skills.
Yeah, well, those are actual, like, here's what you can do. No,
how you or how a woman talks to a guy. You're asking, what should a woman say? And
what would be a good way to handle
communication skills. And she needs to find the best way that her significant other likes to be communicated to. So here's another thing. When I go to a business, there might be 8 people in the room around a conference room table, and I will have all their names on the paper already. And I will say, I'd like to ask each one of you that I need to communicate with how you like to be communicated with. And this person likes a phone call. This person likes text. This person likes an email. This person wants a letter in the mail. This person says, I'll just talk to you when you come next week, when you're up here. And okay. And I write all that down, right? And then I make sure I communicate the way they want to communicate, because they're going to respond to me then.
Yeah.
Right. And if I just go, hey, I'm going to be texting y'all, and maybe I'll throw something at you on Telegram. So sign up, get involved, I might tweet it out, pay attention to my Twitter, it's like, that doesn't work, especially in business. Right.
Right.
So my style might be Twitter. I might be tweeting stuff all day long, and I'm like, wow, these 10 businesses hope they're paying attention, or LinkedIn. Right. I'm like all over LinkedIn, and I'm like, oh, there's that guy. Bam. I got to tell him something. And then I find out he doesn't look at his LinkedIn for 2 weeks. He has all the notifications off, but he's paying attention to his business email, even after hours, right? So if he says email, I know that even if he's on vacation, he's going to see my email and respond to me, right? That's so important. And I take that into our relationship, and into my life with friends and other people. So.
Yes. Great tip for overall life.
Massive tip.
So what if you overheard, you were getting your hair did, and you overheard someone, a woman saying to the hairstylist, hey, I'm just like, I do everything. Like I do the grocery shopping, the cleaning, and cooking and cleaning up, and he won't even, like, he'll go buy a laundry basket of clothes down the stairs. So
that's enough stuff. Let's stop right there.
Okay.
Is she sitting in the salon while she's saying this?
Yeah. Okay. That's the scenario.
Okay. Why don't you analyze that?
Well,
she's at the salon, not at home, working her poor little fingers to the bone, because she's worked her manicured nails down to her fingers, and now her fingers are being worked to the bone. She's sitting in the salon. Is she getting her hair done, or is she getting a pedicure or a manicure, or what is she? She getting a mani-pedi facial? What is she getting?
Well, at least her hair done.
And whatever. Oh, and is this a salon that has, is this a spa salon? Is this a spa salon?
Yes.
Does this spa have a what do you call it? A steam room or a sauna?
Mm-hmm.
Does this spa have massage therapists?
Yes.
Does she partake in any of that?
I don't know that
But
details.
But
it's a nicer salon.
Probably.
Yeah.
Right.
It's she's at least getting it, you know, the top level salon service you can in the area. And this person is not me.
Need I say
I'm just
more?
saying.
Need I say no? You're talking about somebody you heard about.
A hypothetical,
yes.
yeah.
No, it's not hypothetical. You actually heard this. You told me the other day.
No, I was asking my stylist what she most commonly hears.
Yes.
And this is one of them.
That's exactly what I just said. See, communication. You know, I communicate differently than Tara communicates. And oh, look, we got a close up. See? And now it pulls away. It's awesome. So she is sitting in the salon. I know I sound weird saying this. She's sitting in the salon. These are things that don't need to be done, right? You don't have to go to the salon. You have to breathe, you have to drink water, you have to eat food.
Right.
You don't have to go to the salon. These are what we would call first world issues, or you know, a suffering person that has expendable income to go to the salon, and she's complaining about her husband. I wonder, while she's complaining about her husband, where he is at that moment while she's at the salon.
Yeah.
Was he at the salon too? I mean, you probably don't know, but I would imagine
probably not.
I wonder if he was at work.
At work, or maybe watching the kids, you know, so that she could go have her hair day.
And do you think a guy ever just watches the kids, or does he get outside and do stuff and get the kids out, shovel the driveway? In the town we live in, I would say 90% chance that when that guy's watching the kids, those kids are doing work. Right? He's taking the kids, he's saying, here's how we do this, here's what we do here, here's what we do there. And so a woman should assess what she's saying. She's tearing down her marriage, right? While she's in a place of luxury, right? So I don't know the dynamics behind it, you know, why somebody would do that. But if you are in a place of luxury, why would you tear down a person who is part of the reason why you can be in that place of luxury?
I think so. There are a lot of things that come to my mind when I heard this most common thing that comes up at the salon. First of all, you know, women do tend to process by verbalizing, right? Men, not as much. Mm-hmm. And so there's that. Not trying to give an excuse, like there's a good reason.
Use that exact thing. How would you think it would be much more productive that woman speak to another woman? If the scenario was exactly the same in her life, that there's this thing she could potentially complain about, how could she change that so that it's productive?
You know, can I start on a different note first?
No, let's say,
because I've got to think that through a little bit more.
No, it's easy. It's easy. If she's talking to a woman that she thinks has knowledge that she doesn't have.
No, I don't think that's the scenario. She's venting.
Well, then she shouldn't talk to that woman that way, right? She should only talk to women that would have advice. Maybe women that are older than her, maybe her mother, maybe her aunt, maybe her grandma, maybe somebody who's been through life a little bit longer, and say, you know, I'm really, you know, Bill is not listening to me very much. You know, when I talk to him, I'm wondering, do you have any did you have strategy with Grandpa? You know, and how, you know, and oh honey, I didn't bother him when he was working. I didn't say anything to him. And when he came home from a hard day's work, and I sat him on the couch and said, dinner will be ready in 10 minutes. And if you want to go out with the kids, that would be great. And then she walks out of the room. And that's what Grandma would say, right? Grandma wouldn't say, you kick his butt and you put him in his place and you tell him what to do and you blah, blah, blah. You know, obviously Grandma has a Southern accent.
Yeah, Grandma came from the South. Generally, you know, I think complaining to complain is not helpful. I found it interesting.
It's gossip about your own relationship.
It is, yeah.
And it's actually evil.
Tell us more, John. Why is it evil? No, I'm opening it up for you to explain.
Well, you don't know that gossip is evil?
I am not fond of gossiping.
Yeah. Well, it's negative. So if we just go down the path, right?
Yep.
And if words create and you speak negatively about your relationship, is your relationship ever going to be able to be something positive?
No, you're putting into other people's minds the negative aspects of your relationship.
Now they're thinking negatively about your husband. Next time they see him, they're having negative thoughts about him.
And that was exactly what came up with the stylist. She's like, and then I see them at this place and I'm wondering, okay, do I smile or what do I do?
Yep.
And,
right. Yeah. So men, women, do not tear down your own relationship. If you're complaining about it, you actually sound foolish because you are staying in it. Yeah. And the next time you see that person, what are you going to do? Oh, hi, you remember my husband, Bill? Da 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 da, blah 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 blah. And what she's remembering is the crap you said about Bill.
Yep.
Because most people that complain don't remember what they complained about because, like you said, they're venting, they're offloading.
Right.
Instead of dealing with an issue, they offload, and then that issue grows in the background. Like Jordan Peterson says, if you don't slay the dragon in your house, the dragon is going to fill the house. And then the dragon is going to burst out of the house and explode the house, right? And that woman, the dragon has burst the house and is now growing in the salon, right? She took the dragon to the salon. And now you just said, the salon owner or the stylist just said, the next time I saw them, I didn't know whether to say hi, be happy, or greet her husband or whatever she said, right?
Right.
Because now the dragon is in her mind. And now you've got 10 places that are thinking negatively about your relationship. How are you ever going to strive? How are you ever going to get ahead? How are you ever going to grow? How are you going to ever realize your dreams if you're always talking about the things you don't have? I was talking to some guys on Telegram yesterday. And there's a couple guys that I chat with daily on there, and we're talking about this, right? This almost exact thing. And I said, thoughts manifest reality, and words solidify thoughts, right? So just thinking will manifest in your environment, right? And if you put words, which is a solid form of a thought, right? Because I'm saying words and there's nothing here. You can't grab them, but they're in your head now, right? And they're becoming something in your mind. You hear something brilliant somebody else says, you go, oh, wow, yeah, I thought about it that way kind of once. And then your mind starts creating these other things that you could, and now your creativity opens up, right? And as soon as you open up the imagination, you're creating. So if you have a negative thought, and you solidify it to somebody else, right? That's why. And
then you create where two or more are combined, and you reinforce it.
That's where creation happens. That's what it says in the Bible. God says, I will be there where you are with another, where two or more are, I am. Bam. So what is the power of two? It's not 2, 1 and 1 make 11, right? It's quantum, it's exponential. And so as we say things, you and I, we say we would like to go on a vacation. We both agree, right? And so then we say, okay, let's start saving. And you start putting money away. I start putting money away. If we never communicate, we might have way more money saved than we need for that vacation. And it might be a much more spectacular vacation, or we might take that money and put it somewhere else. Yeah, I put $5,000 away. You go, I put $7,000 away. Woo, we got $12,000, right? And now we only need 3 for the vacation. And so we got an extra, 9 sitting there. And now we can put a down payment on something, or we could pay off a major bill or something, right? Yeah, that's how the creation happens, especially when you agree, right? You're like, wow, I don't know if he's saving as much. And I go, I don't know if she's saving as much, but I'm going to put this away and I'm going to make her happy. And you're like, I'm going to make him happy. And then we're both so freaking ecstatic. We're like, I'm so glad I'm married to this person. Right?
Such
And
a
then
good
then we're giving each other a pound and we're locking it in.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry, I missed that
Boom.
step.
Yeah, I don't know any other way to think about it. I can look at it from other people's perspective, but I think the complaining about your own life is so detrimental to the things you want. You could have 10 dreams you want, and if you complain about anything in your life, you're never going to realize even one of those dreams. That's what I've seen. That's what it's like, I seen a quote one time, give me 10 minutes, 5 minutes or something with somebody and I can tell you exactly how they live. Because people speak at the level that they live at. Right. I mean, listen to Warren Buffett talk, and then listen to somebody who's flat broke, but they got a phone and they're complaining on the internet. You won't hear Warren Buffett complaining. I mean, his complaints are about Congress. Well, I could solve the debt in 10 minutes, he says. Give me the power and I will say no congressperson shall be paid if there is not a balanced budget. He's like, you'd have a balanced budget in 10 minutes. It wouldn't take nothing. Well, that's the level he thinks at. He's thinking about the budget for the United States. Most people can't even communicate with their spouse about their own finances, right?
Yeah, there's levels upon levels for sure. Where my mind went to when she brought that up was, okay, let's actually get some perspective, and because each couple is going to be different. Just totally aside with any complaining in the salon scenario, just like get back to, what would be helpful tips for people aside from the, don't complain to someone unless you're looking for solutions, then it's not complaining. But, what came to my mind was, does she recognize, does he, take care of the vehicles or mow the lawn? She's like, yeah, like my guy, I never have to ask him. He's like, takes care of the lawn, the driveway, because around a house, there's plenty of things to take care of. So is she really taking care of everything,
Is
right?
he taking care of stuff? Or is she doing everything you're saying?
Is she really doing everything, and is it disproportionate? And granted, I do think that women in general, we have a different mode about us where, guys can just check out. There's something about them that they can just check out. But women, it's like, oh, this still needs to be done or that still needs to be done. And so we're just so different in that way. And to expect a guy to be thinking, oh, well, I need to still do this or that around the house, guys can more easily just shut it off, take a break, and then say, I'll get to that in an hour, Whereas a woman, it kind of pecks at her brain, like this still needs to be done. And then I can sit down in an hour when that's done. They kind of do it maybe the other way around. So I think, to me, it's like actual evidence. Is she really doing all those things? Also, when you're talking about, going to the grandma for advice, for example, I think it was also a different era. Like I would say the majority, I'd have to look up the stat, but I would assume the majority of women are working. And so you do have to fit a lot more in a day when even working just part-time and the people with kids, holy cow.
Yeah, guys know. Most guys have had a job since they were real young, and just because guys like to work, at least all the guys I know. I mean, I've known guys that didn't like to work, but I mean, if a guy is at work complaining about work, the guys will say, well, why don't you just quit and get out of here? Because we're tired of listening to you. Guys don't commiserate like that. Guys don't say, oh, come on, Bill, you do a really good job here. It's really, guys don't uplift each other like that. Guys will literally put that guy down, and then they'll put their buddies down, and then they'll talk crap to that guy, and then they'll tease that guy, and then, and then they'll all laugh and go have a beer together. It's.
So from a guy, it'd be interesting to hear, what do you think is actually like not contributing enough to a household as a couple? Like, what would be like a legitimate complaint?
Well, okay.
I almost feel I
So let's
don't want
talk
to
about
ask that because like it's like
let's talk about a level of let's say you own the house, right? So I've owned 2 homes and I've rented. I've been in apartments, I've been in townhomes, and I've rented homes, right? So my responsibility, the way I look at it, is when I own the home, everything is my responsibility, right? And if there's a lady in the house, I expect that there's cooking, not all the time, not every meal doesn't have to be. I expect that there's laundry being done. I can do my own laundry. I did my own laundry for years. I was a single guy for years with a son. I was a single father with a child in my home, full physical custody of my child. And I took care of the house. I took care of the meals. It's not hard. I had a full-time job. Plus I trained martial arts. Plus I raced motocross, plus I raced mountain bikes. And, you're busy. You're busy all day. You're busy from the time you wake up till the time you go to bed. You're a big deal. When I had nobody around other than me, who was I going to complain to? And then all of a sudden, if I
have to go outside to find those people then.
Oh, sure. But was I going to complain about myself? I do everything around the house. I got to take care of my son. When you have a mother that takes off and disappears and leaves you and your child, well, what are you going to do? You just take responsibility. I didn't go to the court and say I need child support. I worked full time. Plus when I worked full time, yes, I had help. My parents would watch my son when I was doing things. My parents, we lived right next door for many years, and that made it very easy. And, but I also went to immersion courses. I educated myself. I studied mostly on the internet and in books, autodidact learning. I was a high school dropout. It's like, whoopity-doo. I hear somebody complain about something and I go, oh, poor you. Now get over it and get on with it. Because in 5 years, you're going to be in the same place.
Would there be a point if I wasn't contributing enough where you'd be like, to myself, you probably wouldn't complain to someone else, but you'd say to me, hey, you need to pick up.
Well, you asked me one time, what made you fall in love with me? And I said, your work ethic. I checked you before I married you. Mm-hmm. And then I married you rather quickly.
What an idea. Imagine that.
Yeah, I didn't check how much money you had. I didn't check your educational pedigree. I watched what you did. I watched when you talked to people. I watched how you worked. When I met you, you had 2 jobs, plus you were taking martial arts classes. That's how we met, martial arts. I was your martial arts instructor. And, we got to know each other over the course of 6-7 months. And then we started dating and we got married within a few months after that. Right. Mm-hmm. So, and we've been married now for almost 23 years, and I know,
I've been there,
but I had very stringent qualifications based on my own proclivities, the things I wanted in a spouse. And primarily the only thing that truly matters is somebody's like self-worth and self-care. That's just off the top of my head thinking about it right now. That's primarily what I was looking at. You were working 2 jobs, which meant that you were interested in taking care of yourself, making money, right? Plus you were training in it's not like you were going to the club and you were doing rubber bands and you were training in something that most of the time it's mostly guys, and it's rather tough.
Yeah.
You work out hard when you first come in to start learning something. For the first few weeks, you're running to the bathroom to throw up or dump a load. You're not used to that kind of rigorous, hardcore torquing and twisting of your core, and your knuckles get sore and your elbow hurts for some odd reason and your ankle got twisted funny.
Or your knee.
But you come to the class the next day and you go and you talk to your instructor or another person training and you say, hey, this happened, why? And somebody might show you need to pivot your foot when you're twisting because it'll otherwise it goes in your knee. And
maybe not eat a ham sandwich right beforehand.
Yeah, don't have a ham sandwich and a V8 or whatever it is, right? Don't have a can of pop before you come to class. Drink water,
Mm-hmm.
That kind of stuff. And so primarily, I was you're I'm going to say this, it's going to sound weird and people might get mad at me. You're gorgeous compared to what you look like then. You were
I was or am?
You looked nice as a gal. You looked nice.
Yeah.
You have developed into a swan from a not an ugly duckling, but
just a local duckling.
The duckling next door, not
Hashtag the duckling next door.
And I don't even judge you that way. I just, when I look at people, I was never the standard guy that tried to date the hottest chick that I could find and because I just was doing my stuff, I always ended up dating people that were kind of, this is going to sound a little funny, but they're kind of in my way. They're kind of like, they were in my path, right? It's like they were doing something similar and we happened to be at a thing and I met them. And
no, that makes sense. I mean, it's a great premise for a relationship because at least you share something in common.
I never went to clubs. I never went to
for the bar. That's
dance.
Not
yeah, I never went to the bar. I never took anybody home from a bar or a club or anything like that. I didn't think that way. I wasn't going to where I thought there was going to be a lot of women. I was going to where, my racing, my martial arts, my work, my, just very practical things, and events that were, like town community events. Like, there's a yearly festival in every single town, right? Down in Mankato, it's Oktoberfest. There's a lot of Germans, so there's a lot of beer. A town over here called Silver Lake, there's Policheski days because there's a lot of Polish people and it's a big Polish event. And so, I'd end up going to things like that just because some buddies were going and,
Ludicrous days must have been amazing.
We're going to drink some beer and, yeah, Lutefisk days are hard because even if you're close to a woman, you can't really get her scent, it's just smelling all this lutefisk everywhere. It's like not good.
Hashtag lutefisk. If you know what that is, look it up.
Hashtag keep that out of your nose. So, yeah, so that's, my practical, I have a very practical nature in that sense.
So getting back to the start of that is basically you're saying you got to vet the first person first.
The first person.
to make sure that they're going to be the contributor in the future. But I think what happens, I'm gonna change the scenario a bit.
I wasn't looking for you to be a contributor. I was looking at you, how you treated yourself.
So do you think it ever happens? Let's just assume another scenario, that what happens, maybe a couple get started and they're fine with each other's, it was, he was never super tidy, but she would kind of take care of things anyways. And then they bought a house, and then a couple kids come along and then the stuff that you have to do just starts.
And he's still not super tidy and she still has to clean everything.
Right. Yeah. And so
it's good luck. You started your relationship a certain way.
Bigger.
Yeah.
And you only have so much capacity.
So now the stats are coming out that women cheat more than men, right? And men are shocked. I'm not shocked because I've turned down every single woman that was minus one or two, maybe. Every single woman that was in a relationship. Now, when I met you, you were technically in a relationship. You had a boyfriend in a different country and you hadn't physically seen each other for 9-ish months, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I said the first night we went out, we went salsa dancing.
Mm-hmm.
And
John was the third wheel. like the big wheel on the front of the Hot Wheels.
I was the front wheel on the big wheel.
On the big wheel,
yeah. And so I had 2 gals in tow, and I wanted, at the end of the night, we're just kind of watching everyone on the dance floor because we were just tired of dancing. And we're talking, and I said, I'd like to kiss you. And you said, I can't. I'm technically still in a relationship. Well, bing, 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 bing. There was another feather in your cap. That was another thing that made me go, what an awesome gal. Plus, you said no to me. Ladies, saying no is a positive, right? It's a positive because the guy is intrigued. She said no. What is it?
To this?
Yeah, no, you're like, what's going on? Did I not dance well enough? Did I, there's so many things because
did I not spin her enough?
Well, you don't, did I make her dizzy enough? You don't know. Is it an excuse? Is it, or is she being honest? Or, I didn't know until, I believed you, but I didn't know technically until a few days later. And you were like, I broke up with him, and, you didn't come to me and be like, I broke up with him, I'll kiss you now. You were just like, you told me, and I was like, that was interesting to me. That was, I didn't say I wanted to date you. I said I would like to kiss you, right?
Yeah.
So
it wasn't a contingency kind of thing. It was something that I had to sort that out within myself.
We weren't making lifelong commitments at that point.
Right.
We were just out on a first date,
It wasn't technically a first date.
No, I was the third wheel. I get it.
Yeah.
You
invited yourself.
Your gal friend. No, I said I like salsa dancing. You said, would you like to come with? I did not say I'm coming with you. I did not say I'll meet you at the club. I did not say open the back door, I'm getting in your car. I didn't say that. I said I love salsa dancing. You are like, you salsa dance? And I said absolutely. And I had never salsa danced in my life, but I did that night.
So let's get some solutions for the guys. So apparently the one imperfection that women have is nagging.
Well, here's what guys are afraid of. If they do one thing, there's going to be 20 more.
20 more
things to do.
Oh.
Yeah. A guy remembers everything. Women think they remember everything, right? Guys do remember everything. They remember everything that has been asked of them and the level of unreasonableness that it was asked with, right?
Yeah.
So, the doorknob is loose. Will you fix that? And the guy goes, oh yeah. And then next week, the doorknob is still loose. And then the woman's getting upset about it, right? And the guy's like, well, I went through it twice. It's not that bad. It's not, and I didn't have a screwdriver and I forgot about it, but that's not acceptable most of the time to a woman, right?
Why is that acceptable to a guy?
It's not.
You're like
this is how it goes, right? You expect that my rationalizations are exactly the same as yours. I know my rationalizations are nothing like yours. That's a guy perspective, and you gave the woman a perspective. Why is that acceptable to you? That's not the question. The question is, I forgot about it and the doorknob didn't fall off, and it still works. You can still get through. It's a little loose, right?
Yeah.
You can still get through, right?
Yep.
We have a door exactly like that. You said I couldn't get through that front door, the big metal door on the front of the garage.
Yeah.
You said I couldn't get through that door. The next time I went through it, I opened it right up, and I'm like, well, she's too weak. She didn't twist it far enough. She's, it's a heavy door.
It would twist,
and it kind of gets jammed a little bit.
Yeah, when the temperature changes, it shifts. So I couldn't even pull it open.
Yeah.
You need to already pull it really hard.
Yeah, I grabbed it, I jammed it forward and pulled it back, and it worked.
There you go. Now I know.
So I got through it. It worked. Yeah, it's a little stiff right now. Everything is melting, and the frost is probably starting to come out of the ground a little bit, and so the cement slab is settling a little, and maybe it's a little awkward, and the frame is a little crooked, and and it's like, and a woman will be like, well, can you fix it? And a guy will be like, it'll be fine in 2 weeks, on its own, because
but then he doesn't know.
We know those things. We pay attention to those things. We don't relay those things, right?
So if, let's say, for example, it's a door, and this might be helpful. This is why I'm bringing up this caveat.
The door is everything. Yeah, the door is,
it is
the everything.
Totally. It's the total example. Yeah. So it's a door that, let's say it's the door to the garage, and she parks inside and he parks outside. So he never, he doesn't encounter it. And she's going in and out.
Or he's so much stronger.
Yeah.
He just grabs it, it opens, she grabs it, she can't open it. Yeah.
Right. And
what do you do? You say use a different door.
Well,
walk through the garage, walk through the shop, come up to the house.
But I would, in that scenario, say, I go through this door all the time, and so it would really be helpful to be able to go in and out with ease.
Yep. Can't do nothing right now.
Yeah.
that door is our door.
That door, it's seasonal too.
That door is a heavy door. It's a steel door.
Yeah.
It's not a empty cord steel door. It's a heavy door. It's an industrial door. It's got a steel frame. Yeah. And unless I change the door out, which I'm not going to do, that is going to be the way it is for a few weeks in the spring and in the fall. And
yeah, it really is the perfect example, because there are so many caveats, right? In life.
The eaves, you got a soffit that fell down in the eaves. You got a shingle that's bent up. You got, around your yard, there's some sticks in the back, and the wife looks out the window and goes, oh, I thought I was going to look out on a perfect landscape, and there's some sticks. Yeah,
and maybe she is the one that does the dishes all the time, and so she's looking out that window, and that's what she sees all the time. Or he doesn't wash different dishes ever.
Why do you think I'm putting the greenhouse out the window?
So you can look at it.
So you see it when you're in the kitchen, and you think I should be growing plants. Yes.
You're letting me in on your
That's a guy's secret. Yeah. It's not a big secret.
Not a big secret. So you also gave a really good clue to me years ago about putting a time frame on things. And you kind of did it earlier with saying, hey, honey, can we talk in 20 minutes? Are you available in 20 minutes? Or let's, 5 minutes after dinner, So time frames on the amount of time and when. I
would say, yeah, for sure.
Well, it's a great tip.
A guy should do that too. Guys tend to walk in the room and just say stuff, right? And, I'll come in, you might be listening to something on your AirPod, and you might be, doing the dishes or doing all those woman things, that guys never do. I could say that because for more than 12 years, I was taking care of a child and doing everything in the house. Had to get the laundry done. Even when my son was still in a car carrier, I had to do the laundry. So I would have to carry him in the laundry basket in my apartment down to the laundry room. I would have to load all the stuff. I'd have to keep him happy while I was loading the laundry. And then when I went upstairs and he had a poopy diaper and he threw up all over the place because I set his bottle up and let him suck the whole thing down and didn't burp him, then I had to remember I still have laundry in the room so that the lady in 3C doesn't call me and go, yeah, laundry is still in the blah, 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 blah. Because I was smart. I would leave my clothes basket on the washer and my name was written on my clothes basket so people would know whose it was and don't mess with my shit, right? A lot of the single ladies in the apartment would fold my stuff out of the dryer and put it in my laundry basket and leave a little note. John, I just did this because I had to get my laundry done and da 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 da. So
wow.
Yeah, and I never dated any of them.
Wow.
There was a couple married ladies that did it too, but that's because that's their duty. But
yeah, they weren't getting enough of that at home, so they just had to satisfy that need and desire. Well, there's plenty of time when you're in an apartment.
Well, I'm grateful because women will think that it's rude if they just take your stuff out and put it in a basket and it's just sitting and now it's getting wrinkly, right? And then they would take the laundry, put it in the dryer while they were folding. They would put their laundry in and they would fold the stuff from the dryer. And then when their laundry was done and the dryer was done, they'd come back and they'd fold my other stuff that was in the dryer, because I know how to separate, darks and lights, or white colors and darks and blah, blah, blah. I know how to do all that because I'm small.
It's just the wool sweater we had an issue with.
That was great. That was awesome.
Yeah.
Tip: never do laundry again. Shrink your wife's wool sweater. Yeah. Throw it in the dryer. Wash it hot and throw it in the dryer.
Really cute. Really cute.
I got a baby sweater.
It was a baby sweater after that. Toddler at the most.
Or at least a toddler.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I think those are some
holy
good.
Cow, we've been going for an hour and 47 minutes.
Are you serious?
Oh no, it was sitting on pause for a while.
Yeah.
So probably an hour.
Yeah, maybe an hour. Well, I think that's some really good stuff. The nagging part, you just said that guys are afraid that they're going to get more of, like, if they do one thing, that like the reward for doing one chore is 10 more chores.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
So
it is,
how
because
would you coach
a woman has a
around
list, right? The women joke about it. It's called a what?
Honey-do list.
A honey-do list.
Yeah.
Right. It's a very nice name for a very atrocious thing. What would I suggest?
Yeah.
First of all, I would suggest to guys, stay ahead of the maintenance. I'm looked up and there's a light in the chandelier here that isn't on, which means one needs to be changed. Stay ahead of it, do it. And guys don't look for recognition when they do stuff. It's just done. And so usually guys don't get recognition for stuff they do because they're not looking for it, right? At least real men aren't. They just do it, and they might say something later. They might go, "Hey, I did it this way because of this, just so if you see that, blah, blah, blah," right? And so there is no real reward other than personal satisfaction of the doorknobs are tight, all the doors work properly, the whatever is in its place, and everything's taken care of, right? The sump pump works, and there's like 200 things that are taken care of around a household or on a farm or a ranch that women don't even consider.
There's a lot of stuff. It makes me think
what happens when you go outside and you get in your car and leave in the winter? How many times do you have to clean off your car?
Every time?
Have you cleaned your car off, the snow off it every single time?
Well, unless you've driven it beforehand or you started the vehicle for me or something.
Or I took care of it, yeah.
Yeah.
How many times have you shoveled the driveway?
Well, here, hardly ever.
I have a guy that comes and takes care of all the plowing and the parking lots and everything, right? So there's so many things that are just taken care of, that if a guy makes his list and gives it to a woman, she's going to fall out of her chair.
That was actually my first question with the stylist was, about this. If a woman says, I do everything and I'm working full time and I take care of the house, the kids, the menu, cleaning, is, what if you actually sat down and really compared what each other were doing? Because it's easy when you get
and don't do that.
Well,
you don't want to compare, because comparison turns into competition, and then I'm doing more than you and the guy is easily doing more. I'll just say that out loud.
But at least for reality check, you have to be really observant. You have to get out of your own mind and notice, oh, he's taking care of the leaves that didn't get taken care of last fall, or you have to get out of your own state. I'm
on the side of Bill Burr in his comedy special when he says taking care of kids is the hardest job in the world, and the audience claps, and then he goes, "You got to be kidding me." And then he goes down the list, and any job you can do in your bathrobe, and then he talks about being a redhead and roofing and doing all that kind in the summer sun and all that kind of stuff, and the guys on the oil rigs, and the guys that do the most dangerous jobs in the world, and the guys that die on the job. No mother is dying. There are mothers that have killed their children, but no mothers are dying taking care of kids, right? And I'm on that side of things, and I'm not even sitting at a table that says prove me wrong, because I don't care about what other people think about it. It's just, you can look at things and see how things work, and common sense and the ability to see tells you that, and I did it as a single dad. I think it, and I didn't wear now I could talk about it. I was a single dad doing this, this, and this, but I don't wear it as a trophy. I don't tell people, about all the suffering I went through. I don't tell people about how hard it was. I just say, yeah, I did it. I was a single dad for 12 years and then I married an angel, and that, I actually felt, that I was a failure as a single dad, and I think that if you have a situation where your marriage didn't work or the person didn't stay, you chose wrong. You chose the wrong person. And that's why when I watched you, by the time I met you, I was far enough along in life to understand that in order to have a person that is a person of character, you have to see characteristics in that person before you get with them, before you marry them, before you date them and marry them.
Yeah.
So, Star, you coming up?
She's hungry. I can hear her tummy.
There's plenty of food in her dish.
Yeah. Well, a couple more things before we wrap up. She's
coming.
Something
There's not
that
enough space.
Well,
taking care of kitties.
Come on.
There you go.
There you go. And it
zoomed out and went down to see Starry.
Starry.
There's something going on. There's motion over here.
Black on black. So something that I brought up to my stylist as a part of this conversation is that I think that people overlook how men and women are so different, and that difference is what attracts us to one another.
Right.
But it's also what can drive people crazy about each other.
Well, people have to remember how they chose each other,
But let me explain here.
If you met in a bar and went home and had sex the first night, there's a high likelihood that one or the other person is going to do that again.
Yeah.
And that goes for everything,
But I mean, just in the sense that, okay, where was I going here? Men and women are just innately rather different. So you're talking about, you did the Mr. Mom thing and had to do
Mr.
everything.
Mom, I was a father. I was not the mother. And a mother is not a father. A woman cannot
This is where I'm going.
And a man can't be a woman.
And so I think that you as the dad, the dads are different innately, and even their concerns about how they're raising their kids are different. And I think in women, settle down.
Starry's a little restless.
Women, I think, tend to have a more detailed picture. I know probably no surprise to men hearing that, but it's not just like, is the baby fed and the diaper clean? It's like, okay, you're thinking, so, weeks and steps down the road,
Yeah, the mom will say, don't climb the tree because you might fall. The dad will say, be careful when you're in the tree, don't fall.
Mm-hmm. Or make sure to you see that branch
grab
here?
The branch, grip it
or,
good.
Or don't grab that one.
Hang on, yep, watch out for your stuff. Yeah, no, men and women are totally different. That's why I said I was not Mr. Mom.
So I think what happens too is in these scenarios, the more and more we start living life together, you start expecting that they're going to be similar, but men just simply don't see like the laundry basket as they're going down the stairs, or a garbage or something. And I've done it too, where I might be really focused on something and I totally go by what could be carried.
Yeah.
But our focuses are different, and the way of thinking is different. And so men typically don't see those details, like the honey-do list, right? And
well, we're starting a whole nother conversation that I'm actually would disagree with you greatly. It's not that a guy doesn't see it, he just might not care. Right?
Okay.
If the tabletop is messy, if my stuff is all over the table, you ask me to clean it, I might actually say no. This has happened. I'll say no. I'm not going to clean it right now. You care because you're like, oh, I wanted to. Oh, okay. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing that right now. I'm doing something else. I might not actually care, that it's messy. Or I might look at it and go, I got 3 things there I'm going to do something with tomorrow, or I'm taking those with me to work, or whatever it is, right? And so I wrote down equal partner. What you're kind of, when you said this lady was in the salon and she was saying, oh, I do all this stuff, blah, blah, blah.
It's a conglomeration of women. It's not one woman.
Sure, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. You can break it down to men compared to women, men versus women, the things men do versus the things women do, all these things, and it's never equal. No, never. There's never a 50-50 split. What I tell everybody, and I've said this many times, is you put in 100%, and that way when you don't get 100 from your partner, you still got 100. Now that doesn't mean I'm going to do 100% on all the things you want done. Like if you're cleaning the house, rarely do I clean the house with you. Now, sometimes I do, but most of the time I don't, right? Because you'll just tell me I'm going to start cleaning now. And it's not like we have it scheduled and written down what each of us are going to do and that type of stuff. We've been married for almost 23 years. So we have a system of how we do things and who takes care of what and that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. And a lot of it has been completely unspoken just because those are things I know and those are things you know, or those are things I care about and those are things you care about. Mm-hmm. And we do the respective things, right? Mm-hmm. So, I think so. What are you doing?
She's trying to get on the table. She's seeing if she can get there.
Yeah. So sometimes, when people say it's not fair, it's not equal, or whatever it is, okay, Star, you're going to go down. There you go. So it's never going to be equal. And, I don't, maybe something else happened that caused this woman to want to complain about her husband, or this conglomeration of women that want to complain about their husbands, but they're not complaining about the real thing, the proper thing. A couple is mad at each other. You get in the car, you slam the car door, and I yell at you for slamming the car door. But I'm not mad at you about slamming the car door. I'm mad at you for something else 2 weeks earlier, right? But I don't tell you I'm mad at you. So now the dragon is the car door, right? The dragon is growing, and now the car door is affecting the way I feel about you, but it's actually that thing from 2 weeks ago. But I didn't say anything.
Can we get back to the nagging and the honey-do list? I feel like we need
I thought we covered it. You feel we need to talk about it more. So
there's one
the
more
difference between men and women.
The difference between, because I think this is like
men and women.
This is, I mean, these are like core issues, right? And if we can kind of help on
what is the core issue?
Core issue is men, quote, not listening, and women nagging, and it extends into the honey-do list and so forth. So I was mentioning that men and women are different. It initially attracts us, but later we can be like not appreciating those things. The other thing is, I think, it's astrology. You have different
can of worms now.
Different temperaments, right? You have people who, some are naturally more organized, want to have things be orderly, and some people are just creative and more go with the flow and are okay with let's say, creative environment. So I'm just not going into detail, but there is just that,
I think we boil it down to men and women are different. And if you don't communicate your wants, needs, and desires, you're never going to get them. And if you communicate them to someone who doesn't care about them, you might want to make a decision about who you're with.
True.
Right?
So
these are the harsh realities, right?
Yeah.
Astrology aside, temperaments aside, all these things aside, people have to make a decision. That's why it could have been a metaphor, analogy, or it could have been a comparison, or just a statement about you and what I saw in you before I decided I wanted to tell you that I salsa dance, right? Mm-hmm. I would not have said I love salsa dancing if I did not want to go out with you, right? If I did not want to get to know you better. Mm-hmm. I would have just stayed, that sounds great. You gals have fun. That would have been, and you would have thought, he's such a nice guy. He's just wished us well. And I'm like, some crazy biatches. I don't want to go out with them, So it's just men and women are different, and you've got to decide who you are. You've got to judge who that person is before you get to know them farther, right? You got to make a judgment on whatever things you see. And then you got to decide, do you want to live with that, right? If I went out with you the first time and you brought your friend, and then you came and told me you were broke up with your boyfriend, and I asked you out again, and then you brought your friend, and then a week later we went out and you brought your friend, we wouldn't go out a fourth time. I'd be like, this is asinine. I want to be alone with her, and she keeps bringing this other chick. And no matter if we were just sitting in a coffee shop, or if we were going out dancing, or if we were going to the amusement park, or whatever we were doing, going for a walk on the beach, because I like long walks on the beach, and I like moonlit evenings by the, so I think that, whoa, bouncy bounce. So I think these problems 5 years into a marriage were there in the beginning.
Yeah.
And their differences, and to have anecdotal evidence, or stories, a conglomeration of women's complaints, that kind of stuff doesn't necessarily matter to me. That kind of stuff is just like, what is your relationship like? What do you want? What do you need? What do you dream about? What do you want to have in your life? And how are you going to get it?
That sounds like a honey-do list.
Nope, not at all. It's not something I put on. I'm not writing a list and handing it to you and saying you need to do these things. Not at all.
What is those wants, needs, desires, dreams?
Well, that's what people have to figure out for themselves, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not giving that to anybody. I'm just saying that's what I figured out for myself. I wanted a nice, and when I met you, a pleasant looking gal, and somebody that was a hard worker, because there's so much built into hard work, right? There's, your character, there's how you deal with people, there's being on time, there's being accountable, there's taking care of finances, there's knowing what a dollar means, knowing what your time trading for dollars and how that works in your life, and showing up in the car you were driving, and the way that you would dress. You would come in from work to the school and you were dressed very nice because you were a hostess at a dinner theater, and you were, and so I got to see you dressed up nicely, and maybe you did that so I could see that, maybe you didn't, it doesn't matter, I saw it, right? So there was all these things being checked off. Even if I didn't have a list, I just knew that work ethic, above all, has the content of a person that I like to be around, right? Because I said in the beginning, when I met women, I met them at things I was doing, right? Because I have that level of work ethic. I have that level of drive. I have that level of, I'm taking care of this, I'm doing that, I'm performing here, I'm doing this and this and this and this. And so I know my own character. And being in life, when I met you, I was 30. So being in life for 30 years, I had a understanding of components that make up a good person. So.
All right. Well, I'm going to nag you later about the nagging topic because I want to get to the bottom of that one. But I have a feeling
if you nagged me, especially early on, we wouldn't be together. I don't put up with, I don't put up with much.
Yeah. I think it's a challenging topic, because women think that they're trying to get things taken care of around the house that needs to be done, or needs to be done imminent, is like really important, or before things start falling apart. And if your levels of standards are not this on par with each other, i.e. the guy's standards aren't as high as the woman's in that sense, then yeah, I can see how it comes across as nagging.
Well, thankfully now there's YouTube. Women can watch YouTube and they can learn how to fix a doorknob. They can learn how to put together plumbing. They can learn how to do all this stuff if they want. Right? Right?
Yeah, technically.
Well, women will promote themselves as strong and independent, even if they're married. And, guys will go, well, there you go. You're always saying, you could not you, but I hear this from guys. She's always saying I could do this without you. So the guy will just step back and go, okay, you know, need a new engine in your car now because the engine blew up. Are you independent now? Well, I'll take it to the dealership. I hear a lot from guys, and I just say, did she have good character when you met her? And if he says, well, she was hot, and we were drunk, and and I'm like, well, okay, then you got what you got. If you want something different, you better go through some sort of learning with each other, or hardcore couples therapy, or just write down what you want and what you're going to do for each other and then drive towards it. Or human beings are so adaptable. It's amazing to me that they go backwards, right? Human beings are infinitely adaptable and infinitely upgradable, but most people are going backwards. Most people are devolving, and and especially when they get into a relationship, they learn each other's buttons, they learn the triggers, they learn all the bad things, and they maximize it, right? They use it against their spouse. They're pointing at their spouse all the time instead of opening their arms, and they're pointing at them instead of like this, hug more, kiss more, make love more, do more fun things together. If you do, your guy will do everything. If you do that, he might not do it in your time frame still, but but I can't say. I mean, what is the woman not doing for the guy? I don't know. Why is the guy not doing it?
Whether this was the truth or not, I've been listening to a biography about Queen Elizabeth II, and maybe we'll intend on ending on this note, a positive note. Well, not that the other stuff wasn't positive, but
I don't know anything positive about England or the Queen or the monarchies that try to suppress us in America. I don't know.
I've never really been into the royals or anything like that, but for a personal study on the archetypes, I thought I'd listen to the biography of Queen Elizabeth II. So anyways, the biography is going into her early life, and the biographer is basically explaining that her family, so her parents and Margaret, the author elaborated that it was just basically a loving circle. They would positively the parents would positively love on the children, and the children on each other, and then the children therefore on the parents, and then the king to the queen and the queen to the king. And it was just like everybody, it was just a beautiful, happy family. And I'm in my mind, I'm like, was it really that way? But anyways, it's or they're just casting the rays of sunshine out.
They have to portray an image, right?
Right. But anyways, it's a nice thought, right? And like just what you're saying, if there's more hugs and kisses and positive words of affirmation, and that he will want to do more and be more for you.
We talked about this in the past. It's my opinion that it's the guy's responsibility to be romantic. It's the guy's responsibility to do that type of stuff. And so if I want to get with you, 4 hours before, I'm rubbing your back, touching you, talking to you in ways that, I know you like to be talked to. I'm doing things, and that, I'll light candles. I'll, do different, I'll draw you a bath. I'll do all that kind of stuff.
Like, I took down the garbage.
I tightened the doorknob. If you're trying and you're doing things every day that your spouse wants and they're not reciprocating, then there's a problem, and you might have to go talk to somebody outside your marriage to get advice, not the hairstylist. Not, those women have to just be rolling their eyes constantly going, man, I hear this every day, all day long.
I asked her if she gets tired of it. She's like, no, I actually, I enjoy my clients and talking. I'm like, well, I imagine it's just frequently enough too. That maybe you see them once a month at the most, so but apparently the ones that do continue to complain, she's like, just divorce him already, or stop complaining. So she's exactly what you were
That's
saying.
That's right. That's what I would say. Fix it or change it.
But I think you need to vet a counselor as well and make sure that your objectives, know as a couple what your objectives are going in, which can be already challenging if you're already not communicating well, right? Yeah. But there are counselors who may have a preference for a certain person, sex, situation.
Male or female, yeah.
And and that's what makes it so challenging. So that's why we're doing this podcast, actually, because we've actually had that experience. Well,
and here's advice. Go in with a list of positive things about your partner. If you go in with complaints, you're going to shut them down, right? Mm-hmm. If you go to counseling, go in with a list of positive, this is the top 5 positive things, right? And then 1 or 2 things that you would like them to work on or change. You can't have 2 things that are positive and a list of 10 things they need to change. It has to be mostly positive and a couple things to change. And then schedule another appointment and let them tell you why they don't do those things that you want them to do. Let them tell you. Shut your effing mouth and let them tell you, right? You learn more by listening than you do by talking. I talked more in this podcast because I'm not interested in learning today.
So have a list of the positive things and then a list of the things that you would like them to do or change.
And that list needs to be short. You can't be jamming 20 things down somebody's throat. You got to be like
3 at the most is what comes to my mind.
2. You're probably only going to get to talk about the 1. Yeah. You're probably not going to talk about 2 things or 3 things. You're going to be dealing with why they're not doing just the 1, why they're not performing for you or with you or in spite of you, or, you're going to find out, hopefully. Or you may have built up enough of a wall or scared them enough that they're not going to tell you. They're just going to be like, oh, well, I forgot, or I just didn't want to, or I did, well, that day I did these other 4 things and I got And you may never get to the real reason, because I know this about guys. Women have, this is terrible to end on. They have threatened the guy so much that the guy has no capacity to tell him the truth.
What kind of threats?
I will divorce you. I will take your children and you will pay for it.
Well, then that's like,
yeah. I know many men who have lived that way, are still living that way, and are unhappy, but they're not willing to give up even though their life is bad, they don't want to give up their kids. They're already giving up the money. So the money's not the thing, but they don't want their children turned against them. They don't want their young daughters with new boyfriends of this evil woman that has presented this. And this is a terrible thing to end on, but it's happening in many places.
But what's the ultimatum? Like, what kind of things are they? No, what is she saying? I want you to do this, or I'll do that, or I'll divorce, or like, what is she leveraging?
Well, she's positioned herself as the dominant person in the relationship.
But she's like, I need you to shovel the driveway, or I'm divorcing you. I mean, this is what I'm saying.
No,
this is what I'm getting at.
No, yeah, I'm just saying. There's probably, you don't know what goes on behind closed doors. You don't know why you don't even know if somebody complaining is telling the truth.
Right.
They might just be looking for sympathy. They get power through sympathy. Right. People feel bad for them, but they don't realize they're destroying themselves, their life, their relationship, their image in the community, their, everything. Right. So I'm just saying, there are a lot of people that are living under repression, and people will counter this and go, oh, there's a lot of women living under oppression. Yeah, absolutely. I'm just speaking from a guy's perspective, talking to guys. I know.
Well, maybe we'll get some actual stories or something. We could respond to actual circumstances.
You can ask questions,
feel free to
send in emails, whatever. Hit us up on social media.
Yeah.
We're easy to find.
Let us know. Maybe you're a hairstylist and you hear all these stories too.
Maybe your hairstylist is watching this and she has something to tell me.
No.
Oh, okay.
Other than you're wonderful. She knows you're wonderful.
I try.
Yeah.
All right, that's it.
Okay, yeah. Bam. Before we go off on 10 other subjects, let's end that one. Lock it in.
Lock it in.
All right, have a good one, everybody. And next time we'll get more into nagging. And the honey-do list.
Maybe not.
Oh.
Bye.